After completing 11 labors everyone had deemed impossible, tasks that had taken him to the edges of the earth and imagination, Hercules had become a legendary figure, beloved and revered by the Greeks. Each monstrous creature he slew, each tyrant he overthrew, each task he accomplished only served to cement his reputation as the greatest of heroes, a true benefactor of humankind. Eurystheus's cunning plan to destroy the son of Zeus through deadly challenges had failed spectacularly. Rather than falling into ruin, with each trial, Hercules achieved even greater glory, overshadowing the king's own authority. Eurystheus's envy and despair reached their peak. He knew that, according to the oracle, he had the right to assign only one more task to Hercules, the 12th and final one. This was his last, desperate chance to rid himself of the hero once and for all. His mind racing for the most impossible and terrifying mission, Eurystheus conceived a labor that he believed would mean Hercules' ultimate end. The king ordered Hercules to descend into the underworld and return with the legendary Cerberus, Hades' three-headed hound. Before departing for the dark and mysterious realm of Hades, Hercules, with his customary prudence and respect for divine laws, sought purification and spiritual guidance. He traveled to Eleusis, an ancient and sacred religious center, where he was initiated into the Eleusinian Mysteries. These secret and sacred rites, dedicated to Demeter and Persephone, symbolized death and rebirth, the cycles of nature, and the promise of life after death for those initiated. His participation in these mysteries purified him of the stains of his previous labors, but also prepared him spiritually and made him fit to journey into the underworld and return, granting him a deeper understanding of the realms of life and death, knowledge essential for his upcoming quest. With his soul cleansed and mind prepared, Hercules made his way to a secret cave deep in Laconia, which served as one of the few known passages to the underworld. Right at the entrance, as if to guide him on his ominous journey, he was greeted by his divine brother Hermes. The messenger god was also the psychopomp, the guide of souls to Hades' realm. His presence signaled divine approval of Hercules' mission, and his swift, clever figure was the only light in the deepening gloom. Guided by the messenger god, with his staff and winged hat, Hercules ventured into the depths of the underworld. It was a sinister place, vast and oppressive, filled with a palpable sorrow, where the murmur of lost souls was the only melody, and hope seemed to have no place. In the realm of Hades, Hercules and Hermes passed through various haunted corners, watching the souls of the dead wander through the fields of asphodel. In the midst of this desolation, the demigod found a familiar figure, still alive, chained to a rock. It was his friend Theseus, the hero of Athens, imprisoned due to his own recklessness. Theseus had been punished by Hades for attempting, along with his impetuous companion Pirithous, to kidnap Persephone, queen of the underworld, in an act of supreme audacity and disrespect for the gods. He had been detained and condemned to oblivion. Hercules, moved by loyalty and compassion, decided he would not leave his friend behind. He broke the chains, allowing Theseus to finally return to the world of the living, though forever marked by his harrowing ordeal. Hercules' journey then brought him to the banks of the river Acheron, the dark and muddy waters that separated the world of the living from the realm of the dead. There, he encountered Charon, the ferryman, who transported souls across the river in his decrepit boat. Charon, faithful to the laws of the underworld, refused to help Hercules, a living being, enter his master's realm without the proper rite or the coin for the dead. But Hercules never accepted no for an answer. With a voice that thundered like a storm, he threatened to destroy Charon and his frail boat if he didn't ferry him across immediately. The hero's imposing strength and barely contained fury were so tangible that, under such a threat, Charon had no choice but to do as Hercules demanded. Reluctantly, he guided the boat across the dark waters, breaking the barrier between the living and the dead. On the other shore, Hades himself, the formidable lord of the underworld, was already waiting. The meeting between Zeus's son and the dreadful master of the dead was a moment of supreme tension. Hercules requested permission to take Cerberus, the three-headed guardian hound, with him and present it to Eurystheus, making a solemn promise to return the dog once his labor was complete. The request was audacious, but Hercules remained respectful, aware of the authority and power of the god before him. Hades observed the hero with a deep, penetrating gaze. He, who was rarely impressed, recognized the bravery and resolve in Hercules. The god allowed Hercules to attempt capturing the three-headed dog, but imposed a non-negotiable condition, a challenge that would test the demigod's true strength and courage. Hercules was to use only his bare hands to subdue the beast. No weapons, no tricks, just the hero's raw strength and will. It was a fair challenge, worthy of the guardian of the underworld and of the hero seeking his final purification. With Hades' permission, the hero went to confront the monster. Hercules knew he was about to face the fiercest of creatures, an animal that was the last obstacle to his freedom. At the sight of it, Hercules was not surprised by its enormity. The beast was even more imposing than legend had described. Its claws were sharp as blades, and its bark was a roar that echoed through the shadowy valleys of the underworld, capable of paralyzing any mortal with fear. The son of Zeus had already battled all kinds of fantastic creatures, and would not be intimidated by yet another monstrous offspring of Echidna. The battle between the demigod and the monster was an unparalleled test of strength and endurance. Cerberus lunged at Hercules with unmatched ferocity, its three heads attacking simultaneously, trying to bite and tear him apart. Hercules, unarmed, used his brute strength, agility, and combat experience. He grabbed the dog's three heads, attempting to immobilize them, feeling the heat of its infernal breath and the pressure of its fangs. With muscles strained to their limit, he resisted the beast's blows and onslaughts. The fight stretched on for a long, exhausting time, an epic duel in the depths of the world of the dead. Finally, after an overwhelming display of strength and persistence, Hercules at last subdued the creature. Exhausted and defeated, the hound was completely overpowered by the hero's indomitable force. With Cerberus subdued, Hercules tied the dog with chains he had brought and led it out of the underworld, heading for the surface. The ascent was a stark contrast. From the darkness and oppressive silence of Hades' realm, they emerged into the bright light and fresh air of the world of the living. The infernal dog, accustomed to darkness and the scent of death, had a violent reaction to the sunlight and open air. Cerberus became nauseous and vomited. From the spot where the animal's vomit fell, poisonous plants began to grow. Despite its continued resistance and barks and howls that terrified every living being in its path, Hercules dragged the creature across all of Greece, a terrifying sight that caused panic wherever it passed, until they reached the palace of King Eurystheus in Mycenae. There, he presented the beast to his master, proving that he had completed the most impossible of all tasks. At the sight of such a monster, pure terror seized Eurystheus. The king, who had conceived the labor as a death sentence, fled in panic at the sight of the three-headed dog and hid inside his bronze jar. Cerberus was released as promised, and Hercules, true to his word, ensured that the dog returned safely to the underworld to resume his vigil at the gates of Hades' realm. Hercules had finally completed his 12th and final labor. Eurystheus, resigned and utterly defeated in his obsession to destroy Hercules, released the demigod from his service, no longer daring to challenge him. The prophecy had been fulfilled. The labors had come to an end. Hercules had reached the peak of his glory. He was no longer just a hero. He was seen as the greatest benefactor of humankind, the liberator of monsters, and the one who surpassed all limits. His legend would echo across Greece and beyond, making him a symbol of strength, perseverance, and justice. But this was not the end of his journey. The son of Zeus would still face great trials and adventures, both in the mortal world and among the gods, before finally attaining immortality and ascending to Olympus to sit beside his father as a god.